The biggest mistake that people make is simply not taking photos. Even if the photo's not perfect, it's better to at least have that than to have nothing. Be intentional with the photos that you're taking. So actually thinking about, what do I want to accomplish with this photo or video?
Why do you think big brands have influencers use their iPhones? It's because there's a level of trust that's gained. So if you get photo and video right from your iPhone, there's a level of trust. Today, we're going to talk about the easiest way to level up your communication and your content without having to spend a dollar, only using what you already have, which is your iPhone that is in your pocket. Someone on your staff, probably your entire staff, is using their iPhone every day. And we want to tell you how to get the most out of that phone. You've done a lot of work on this, actually. You've taught classes on it, and I think this is such an important topic for municipalities, because while we would advocate for big events and things, hire a photographer, you will not always have someone at your disposal at every event, at everything, to get quality photo and video. But if you know how to use your iPhone properly, you can get, 90% of the way there, I would argue.
Yeah.
So before I even jump to all of what we want to get to today, can you just really quickly tell us, what are the benefits that you've seen municipalities have when they choose to execute this strategy and just improve their photo and video by using their iPhone?
Yeah. Well, I think in general, photo and video content just performs the best on social media. We've seen that across the board. So a lot of times, they don't have a photo or a photographer on staff. They don't have a videographer on staff. So because of that, they just don't use it.
Right.
And they, resort to graphics and text and things like that. Versus if you can, even if it is with an iPhone, make that transition to incorporating more photo and incorporating more video, you're going to see residents engage a lot more with your content. And you got to think about it too, from the sense of, we're talking about putting it out on social media. So a lot of content that is out on social media is shot with a phone.
Absolutely.
The photos, the videos, most people don't have a professional photographer following them around everywhere.
Yeah.
They're taking a lot of the stuff that they post with their own phones.
And why do you think big brands have influencers use their iPhones? It's because there is a level of trust that's gained when it's like, oh, this was shot in real time. It's not overly perfected, manicured. We're so aware, like our internal, is that an ad? Am I being marketed to? It's just, we're at an all-time high with that. Yeah. So if you get photo and video right from your iPhone, there's a level of trust that is instantly there. So I love that as an answer. What are the biggest mistakes that you see right now municipalities kind of making when it comes to photos with iPhones? Because we've seen them trying, but I would say there's, they're not following the best practice for sure.
Yeah. I think there's some like basic things that people can do. I think a lot of times, if you're not a photographer or videographer, you don't realize how important good lighting is. So, a lot of times I see pictures where, people have like, terrible shadows on their face versus like, if you just had somebody step into some natural sunlight, and took the photo from that way, it looks 10 times better, just making sure that things are well lit. And also the quality of the photo is better when the camera is getting enough light in, to capture that image.
Meaning if we're inside a room, face the subject towards the window, then take the photo.
Yep.
And then I guess to that point, be close enough to them. Yeah, to where they're like actually the main focal point.
Yeah, exactly. It's, depending on what you're highlighting. But another error I would say that people have when they're taking photos with their phones is that they're not positioning people correctly in the photo. Maybe it is too far away and you're trying to really focus on the person that's in there. If you're focusing on a person, have that person fill most of the frame, or a group of people fill most of the frame. You don't need to take it from so far back. Now, if you're wanting to showcase, the expanse of an event to where you want that wider angle shot, then obviously, a farther away shot is appropriate in that circumstance.
But even with that, we would say get some variety. Like, don't assume
100%.
that you snap a wide shot of an event and that that's going to work on Facebook,
Yep.
because if you can see a ton of people, let's say there's a concert happening in your town and you just get a wide shot of a ton of people,
Mhm.
unless, yeah, I mean, the stage is probably not the focal point of that photo and the crowd is not the
Yeah.
focal point. So now you have no focal point. You just have a lot of busy.
Yeah.
And so that's where just knowing I want to communicate something with this photo.
Yeah.
There should be a clear subject.
Yeah, something that I tell like all of our photographers and videographers, who are professionals when they're going to cover an event for us, I always tell them, make sure that you get photos from 3 different distances. You want photos, wide shots that are kind of establishing the event.
Mhm.
You want medium, photos where you can kind of more so focus in on an aspect of it. And then you also want close-up shots. And I always tell them we want variety of all 3 of those things because that's the best way to tell the story of an event that you're going to.
Cool. Any other things you would point out that you just think, man, municipalities don't even think about this when they're taking a picture with an iPhone?
The biggest mistake that people make is simply not taking the photos. Even if the photo's not perfect, it's still better to have that visual in your content where, people are seeing an event, where they're seeing a local area, of your municipality. It's better to at least have that than to have nothing. So that's the biggest mistake you can make is not doing it.
Yeah, to that point, you're gonna get better with time.
Yeah.
So we're giving away so many tips in this episode, so many things you've learned, but you've learned them doing a number of events, and you have to start somewhere. So you need to pull out your iPhone and start taking pictures, and then you can continue to improve on this. And if we're gonna kind of start to improve, there's probably a few things you would immediately go, yeah, just do these few things. What are the simplest steps you should listeners, viewers should take to move in the direction of improving their iPhone photos?
Yeah, the simplest one that you can do, and most people don't think about this, but when you're using your phone, it's in your pocket, you're pulling it in and out, touching it with your hands, simply just cleaning off the lens,
Yeah, get a clear picture.
yeah, to get a clear picture, that right there will improve your photography because nobody wants to see the smudge,
Right.
from the lights and everything in those photos. So clean your lens. That's definitely the first step. Another one that I would say is, make sure the lighting is good. Like I mentioned before, use natural light. Taking photos outside usually turns out better for people that don't really know what they're doing with photography. So maybe if that is you, try to take more outside photos. If you are inside, use natural light. Make sure that things are well lit. If it's overhead light, make sure that it's not shining down on somebody's face and causing a weird shadow. And that simply might be telling them, hey, just take one step back, or can you just take one step forward?
Testing it a little bit.
Yeah, testing it just so you can see what that looks like. Another simple feature that's on, most phones is that when you're taking a photo, you can actually press and have the camera focus on what you want it to focus on. So that's a simple one. When you're seeing it on there, press and focus on, whatever the
The
focal
subject is.
point or the subject of that picture should be. Another simple one that people can do is turn the grid lines on their phone, and that's just done in your settings. And that helps you come up with some better composition of the photo. It helps you frame things, make sure that, the photo is level when you're taking it. So that's just a simple one that can resolve, a lot of amateur issues that I see. And then again, shoot multiple angles. To really cover things well, you have to be shooting things from a variety of angles, close up, at a distance, mixing things up like that, especially for an amateur, because you really don't
They're-
know what works best.
Right.
And that's totally fine.
A bunch of
because-
them you're never going to use.
Exactly. You're not looking for 100 amazing photos of this event. You might take 100, but you might only end up posting 2 or 3 or 5 of them. So if you can get just a few photos of it, or good photos, you're still going to be in a good spot.
The pushback on that would be a lot of times you're so busy And the point of being at the event, the person taking the iPhone photo is not to take photos, right? They're not a full-time photographer. So if you're busy and you're on the go, what's your sort of advice to that person for taking photos on the go, uh, and just making it as easy as possible?
One of the best things you can do is just go in with a plan. So think ahead of time about, what is a simple shot sheet that I can get at this event to really capture, the main aspects of it. ChatGPT is like a perfect tool that you could utilize for that if you don't know, and even prompt it with, I'm an amateur photographer. I'm using my iPhone. I'm, covering this event that we have going on. Help me draft a shot sheet of things that I should capture.
Mhm.
But going in with a simple plan like that can save you a lot of time because then you're not scrambling trying to figure out, what you should cover. You go in knowing, I need to get shots of these things, maybe from a few different perspectives, and then you're good to go. So the shot sheet, I think, saves a lot of time and helps with efficiency.
Pre-planning, huge. If you've ever stared at your town's Facebook page and you've wondered what to post, we've solved that. The City Social Idea Bank is our giant list of 150 plus real world post ideas, and it's broken down by types of posts, months, format, and it's even graded on a lift scale to tell you which posts are going to be easy to execute and which posts are going to take more time for you to create. Our team at City Social uses this in our planning, and we're giving it away completely for free. Don't miss it. Get 150 post ideas right now to your inbox. Go to citysocialms.com/ideabank. Okay, we've talked a lot about photo. Let's pivot to video for a second. What are the biggest improvements people can make when they're shooting iPhone video?
Yeah. There's a couple really big things that matter in video that people don't necessarily think about when it comes to quality. Because a lot of times they're thinking about, what camera they're shooting on, the quality of the footage. But the phones that we have shoot great quality. Most of them shoot, better quality than professional cameras 15 years ago
Right.
shot. So the quality that you can get video wise from a phone is really good. But the two things that are neglected in that are lighting and audio. So similar to photos, you wanna make sure that there's good lighting in a video, especially when you're shooting something of a person. And secondly, audio plays a huge role in how the quality of a video comes across. So when someone's speaking, and if you just use the microphone that's part of the phone, the quality of audio is not gonna be that great, especially if you're outdoors. You're gonna hear a lot of wind. So a simple fix to that, which automatically makes the quality of the video seem like it's way higher, is to get some kind of external mic that you can clip onto somebody, a Bluetooth mic that hooks up to your phone, and that will capture the audio. They're not expensive, you can get them pretty cheap, but those two things, the lighting and the audio, getting some kind of mic will drastically improve the quality of your video.
Yeah, and testing those things before, right? So
Mhm.
have if you're let's say you're filming a video of the mayor, have the mayor say a few things, listen back to the audio. Is it good? Are you peaking? Is there wind? It's not hard. That's also a good shot to test the lighting on and be like, okay, yeah, we need to like rearrange this. The background doesn't look right, all that sort of thing. Okay, is there anything else you would say on that one, or do you want to keep rolling through these?
No, let's keep rolling.
Okay, so the next one is what are a few video shot types that everyone should capture at an event? So just for video,
Yep.
what are you going to record?
Yep. So I would say, you definitely wanna get some kind of establishing shot. So whether that's a wide shot of the event where you can see everything that's going on, or, maybe if you're highlighting an event that's not that big, that there's not a ton of people on, and it's or a ton of people at, an establishing shot could also be like, a shot of the outside of the village hall
Mhm.
or, a shot of something that kind of lets people know where you're at. So an establishing shot, I would say you definitely wanna get that. Also, you wanna get action shots. So you wanna get, people candid shots of people, whether, interacting with something that's at the event or just enjoying themselves, mingling with each other, mingling with staff. those kind of candid action shots of, people enjoying themselves at the event.
And those don't have to be long.
No, exactly. No, 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 not at all. You want short clips. And then I would say, again, with video, the same thing we talked about with photo, you want to have different angles, and then you also want to have different focal lengths. So you want to have some wide shots, you want to have some, medium type shots, and then you want to have some tighter shots. And especially when it comes to like editing these things together, having that dynamic makes the video so much more engaging than, if you could imagine you're
All
watching a
wider.
video and everything's a wide shot or everything's a super tight shot. It's not going to be as engaging as that switch between those three different levels.
I can't prove it with data in this moment, but I can say with photo, you can imagine it's going to be way easier to want to engage with the photo where there's a focal point person, but then you're going to want the wide shot to kind of go, oh, it was at this large event. In video, it's like you will not get what you want if all you do is one of those things.
Yeah.
You have to show the entire vibe of the event. You have to show the entire aesthetic of what was happening, the entire event, from mingling lots of people to one person talking. So that it makes a lot of sense to get the variety of shots specifically for video content. You mentioned earlier the importance of composition, and that can seem daunting to somebody who's just starting out. So if you're going, okay, I want, our staff to be mindful of the composition of this photo or video, what are the easy wins, the easy things to follow?
So composition is something that can turn a basic looking photo into something that is really engaging if you do it right. Kind of the classic thing that people talk about with composition is the rule of thirds. And that grid function that you can add onto your phone for photo and video, it helps you kind of, apply those things. But the idea is basically where you frame somebody in a photo or a video when you're shooting them. And then, also basic things like, if you're shooting something, making sure that your image is actually, level. What, it's a dead giveaway to amateur when, you're looking at a photo and the horizon's like totally crooked. And even if you make that mistake when you're shooting it,
Can
take
fix it
a
in post.
couple seconds
Edit it.
to edit it. Even if it's just internally on the, the app on your phone, you can turn that and, get it level so the quality looks significantly better. Another thing you want to pay attention to is the background that's behind somebody. You don't want chaos in the background to pull attention away from the subject that's in the photo or of the video. And another piece to that is making sure that there's some depth between whatever your subject is and the background. I'm sure you've seen it, and a lot of times it is kind of another dead giveaway to amateur where someone takes a photo of somebody and they're like standing right up against a wall or something, and you don't really know why, but it just like looks like more amateur of a shot. And then if you look like at a photo that like looks really nice and looks really professional, a lot of times there's room behind somebody. They're not just standing right up against a
Right.
wall. There's space behind them. And it just visually makes the photo look a lot nicer.
I think for a lot of municipalities and towns, the dream would be to actually equip multiple people on a staff or in different departments to be able to take good photos and videos.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to get everybody to the same level. Some people are just going to be better at it. Some people are going to be worse at it. But knowing there's multiple team members who are sort of signed up in a way to take photos and videos can really be helpful. So if you're trying to keep the visuals semi-consistent, professional looking, high quality, how do you do that? How do you keep things consistent when there's like multiple people taking photos?
So I think one thing you simply do is, talk to your team about what's the type of shots that you're looking for and what looks good. I think, showing them some examples so they get an idea of what you're looking for from them, kind of makes things clear for everybody involved. And I think helps with that cohesiveness of, what they're capturing. Another simple thing is, maybe you have multiple people shooting, but you only have one person editing. That way, they know what they're changing, what their
Right.
settings are. Because what you don't want is you don't want to post, 10 photos from an event and they all have different filters or color grading on them to where it doesn't even look like they're shot, at the same place at the same time. You want that cohesiveness in the editing to happen. Um, and so that the easiest way to do that is just to have one person edit that. If you are going to have multiple people editing, photos and sending them into post, then I think simply just having like a basic style guide, with, what kind of adjustments are you making? What kind of color, are you using on the photos? And just keeping it very, very simple. You don't want to complicate things. You don't need a 20-page manual. Just, a few basic bullet points that the team knows and that the team's aware of. I think will solve a lot of that problem.
That's good. We're starting to wrap up this episode. So if you're going to give municipalities a final piece of advice based on all your photo video knowledge from like the last 10 years, specifically around better iPhone photos, what is it? Like what's the thing that you want people to walk away with from this episode?
I'll say two things. The first one's a little bit more practical, and the second one's a little bit more philosophical. But practically, when you're taking photos, especially photos of people, using portrait mode is so much better than using just the regular photo
Mhm.
feature that's on the phone. Now, if you're, highlighting a bigger scene, the photo, feature is fine. But when you want people to focus on individuals, definitely use portrait mode. And then the second thing, the more philosophical thing that I'll say is be intentional with the photos that you are taking. So actually thinking about like, what do I want to accomplish with this photo or video? Is it, just strictly to highlight something? Is it to, capture someone's story, to invoke some kind of emotion? A lot of times when you start thinking about those types of things, it has this weird way of like just naturally making your photo and video better.
Mhm.
And I don't really know why that is. I wish I could explain it to you, but for some reason, like when you because I think maybe because it starts to give you a goal, and something to aim at. Um, and so I think when you do that, over time, it's going to improve your skills. And
Yeah.
that's the last thing I'll say is just be patient and keep doing it,
Yeah.
and you're going to get better.
Yep. Yep. Your photos that you take tomorrow or at your next event, hopefully a year from now, you look back and go, man, I was an amateur.
Yeah.
But you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And so I think these are really practical, good tips that people can walk away with. I want to remind people as well that if you are still in a place where you're kind of wondering, what the heck do we post to our Facebook page or how do we stay consistent, right? Like, okay, awesome, Kevin, we're going to take better pictures at our next event, but like between events and all that, how do I keep a consistent content calendar? We actually created an idea bank because we've seen a lot of municipalities run into that problem where they're like,
Yeah.
we have busy seasons where we have so much to tell everybody, and we have other seasons where it's like, I don't know what to post. So if that's you, if you find yourself going, man, I really want to kind of get some level of knowledge of what's working on social media, we have 150 plus ideas for you in an idea bank that's completely free for you to go grab. It's sortable by format, by month, by lift level, meaning how hard is this going to be to execute? And we would love for you to learn from what we've learned from the last 10 years. So you can get this idea bank by going to citysocialms.com/ideabank. We would love for you to go get that and start using it for your town. And thank you for watching this episode. Thank you for the work that you do, and we will see you in the next one.